Okay, so grab your tea because this sounds made up. A woman marries into a family, her husband dies, she marries his brother, he dies too, and then the father-in-law scams her. No, this isn't a Netflix series. This is actually in the Bible. So there's this woman named Tamar, and she marries into this big deal family, Judah's family. You know, Judah, one of Jacob's 12 sons, pretty prestigious. She marries the eldest son. Sounds great, except was apparently so terrible that the Bible literally says God took him out. Like, that's how bad he was. Now, back then, they had this tradition called levirate marriage. Basically, if your husband dies, his brother has to marry you and give you kids to carry on the family name. I hear some cultures still do that to this day. Don't know how I feel about this one. Moving on. So Tamar gets passed to husband number 2, Onan. But here's where it gets messy. Onan did not want to give Tamar children because then those kids would be considered his dead brother's heirs, not his. So what does Onan do? Well, let's just say he found a way to keep up appearances with actually giving her children. The Bible doesn't spell it out, but basically, he made sure he always pulled out every single time. And God was not having it. Onan? Also dead. Now Tamar's sitting there thinking, I've buried 2 husbands. And Judah, the father-in-law, is looking at her like she's got the plague. He's convinced she's the problem, that she's cursed. So what does Judah do? He tells her, oh, just go back to your father's house and wait for my youngest son, Shelah, to grow up, and then you can marry him. But spoiler alert, he had no intention of letting that happen. He was basically ghosting her. Years go by. Shelah grows up. Still no wedding. Tamar realizes she's been played. And here's why this is so messed up. Back then, a childless widow, she had nothing. No inheritance, no rights, couldn't own property, couldn't work most jobs. Without sons or a husband, she was basically sentenced to die poor and forgotten. Judah didn't just ghost her, he destroyed her entire future. So girlfriend decides to take matters into her own hands in the most audacious way possible. She hears that Judah's heading out to shear his sheep. So she takes off her widow's clothes, puts on a veil to cover her face, and positions herself right on his route. When Judah sees her, he thinks she's a prostitute and proposes a little transaction. But Tamar's smart. She says, sure, but I need collateral until you pay me. And she doesn't ask for just anything. She asks for his seal, his cord, and his staff. Now, these weren't random items. Your seal was like your signature, your legal stamp of authority. The cord held it around your neck. And the staff, that was a status symbol, often carved with unique markings. Everyone would recognize Judah's staff. These items were literally his identity in that society. Fast forward 3 months. Word gets back to Judah. Your daughter-in-law Tamar is pregnant, and she's not married. Judah is furious. Burn her, he shouts. Now, in that era, sex outside of marriage, especially for a woman who was supposed to be waiting for marriage, was considered a grievous sin. The punishment? Execution, usually stoning to death, or in some cases, burning. No trial, no second chances, just death. But as they're dragging Tamar out, she sends Judah a message with his seal, cord, and staff. I'm pregnant by whoever owns these. Do you recognize them? I can only imagine Judah's face in that moment. His own seal, his own staff that everyone in town would recognize, his own actions, everyone watching. Now, could he have lied? Technically, maybe. But his seal? That's like his legal signature. His staff? Everyone in town knew that staff. He was caught red-handed, and denying it would have made him look even worse. He had no choice. So he publicly admitted, "She is more righteous than I am. I didn't give her my son Shayla like I promised." Tamar was saved. She gave birth to twins, Perez and Zerah. And get this, Perez became the great, add a bunch more greats, grandfather of King David. And in the Christian tradition, he's in the direct lineage of Jesus Christ. So this woman who was blamed, abandoned, and nearly executed ended up being one of the most important women in biblical history. She's literally in the genealogy of the Messiah. The moral of the story? Don't count people out. Sometimes the ones everyone thinks are cursed are actually the ones changing history. And that is the tea. Now tell me, would you have done what Tamar did, or would you have just accepted your fate? Let me know in the comments.